home. We were told he was one age, and he turned. His birthday was the day we got him, and he looked 2 years older than he actually was. And so we were hoping to get somebody that was a little bit younger and less developed, so that our older two sons would it just wouldn't get too complicated and conflict, with boys. But the Lord had other plans, and so it was a lot of conflict. And but it was also opportunities I saw where the Lord worked in our children in ways that, man, they were probably learning lessons about humility and about being patient and forgiving in ways that I didn't have to deal with when I was that age. And so there was just a lot of opportunities to counsel, a lot of opportunities to resolve conflict in a biblical way with our children, pointing them to the gospel, pointing them to Christ and His example of not, when He was reviled, and He didn't revile in return, but kept entrusting Himself to Him who judges justly. And so just teaching them how, wrongs that are committed to them, or even things that they feel are wrong, we can trust God in those. There's definitely challenges to helping our own kids understand, but we saw very quickly these are good lessons that they need to learn, and we trust that God's going to use them as they grow into adulthood, and we don't know how, but we trust that He will.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's like so many things, marriage, having biological children, it's a school in sanctification. And so, that's an aspect of I haven't thought about, the kind of the lessons your kids might learn through it. So kind of branching further out from that, how can parents in the church help their own children understand children who are adopted and who are foster children?
By nature, we think in ways about other people that aren't like us. We think in a lot of ways that something's wrong with them, or they're not as they're not as holy, or whatever. Like they're strange, and sometimes children who have very very difficult home lives. They don't develop like kids in a healthy situation. They just don't. And so they're going to be socially awkward at times. They're going to be acting out in ways that other people don't necessarily feel comfortable with. Just general. You might be a 9-year-old, but they might be acting, throwing tantrums like a 4-year-old. And so, but it's helpful to show that if I'm talking to my own child about this other child and the way that they're acting, it's helpful for me to say, but you have to realize that if you were in a similar situation, you might be just as bad or worse in your own behavior. Yeah. And I think it's helpful just to highlight, none of us are where we are by our own, strength and our own wisdom. We are who we are by the grace of God. And so that's another opportunity just to teach our kids to look on others with compassion, and when we see someone hurting, and recognize they've had a difficult life, and we're called to show them mercy. We're called to love them, and to and I just think it helps us to it does give opportunity to help not protect our kids, but to retrain our kids thinking, and just thinking, you're not as good as you think you are. You would be in just bad a shape if the circumstances were just so. And and it really does teach humility. It's a perfect opportunity to teach humility. It's a perfect opportunity to teach mercy and compassion. So
I think that's really great. Yeah. And to me it shows, I actually have heard of parents, having a very negative reaction to foster kids being introduced in the church. But in fact, it's actually so positive because it's even a gospel opportunity with our own kids. And I really love how you guys get to that. So that's awesome. So Now, what advice do you have for churches ministering to foster children and their foster families? So, I mean, this can be between how a pastor encourages the family, the broader church together, or even a Sunday school teacher that has some kids drop in and out based upon foster situations.
Well, I would say it's important not to communicate that there's only one way of caring for the fatherless. Like there's no like special class, kind of like missionaries, that, well, if you really love the Lord, then you're going to be on mission. You're going to go give your life, sell all your possessions, and go on the mission field. But I think it's important that we understand that everybody in their sphere of influence and with the gifts and abilities and resources that they have, they can serve in some way. And some people, it might be the Lord calling them to foster. Some it might be just adoption. Some it might be supporting the families who are adopting or fostering. And so I think from the pastor, it's important for them to communicate those things. Like they need to have a healthy vision of what is caring for the fatherless, and to see that it's not just one thing that God is doing, so that people don't feel like they're useless, well, if they can't take in a child in their home, that they can't care for orphans. That's not true. So I think that's important from pastors to be able to communicate those things. And then I also would say just being willing to kind of enter into the world with the foster children and the foster families, because you don't really get it until you've seen it. And so we've had several of our friends who would visit, because they have, coming over to visit Kelly for play dates and stuff, because they have kids that are the same age as ours, and they would come and they would be there when the caseworkers come in the house and see just like this revolving door that our home had, that there's always people in and out. And I think it helped them to see, wow, I only see you on a Wednesday or a Sunday or, at church, but normally, and you look all put together and everything, but then during the week, you've got somebody coming in your house all the time. And I think it's just helpful to communicate that just being in the situation so that you can see it and understand it. And then you'll have a better idea of what the needs are and what ways that you can help. And I think in a general sense, that's always the case for any kind of ministry. We need to be able to enter into people's worlds so that we can see and understand better before we, from the outside, try to just throw money at it or give our counsel without really understanding what's going on.
Yeah. It's wise. So, Tommy and Kelly, how can Christians support families who are serving the Lord through fostering?
So I can really speak to this because even though you have a lot of people coming in and out of your house, I feel like fostering can be very lonely at times. And so I just would encourage the church to reach out to the moms, especially if they stay home. I just encourage the church to check on those families that are fostering and not just ask the question, do you need help? Because I'm going to tell you no if you ask me, do you need help? I think, or used to, I probably would say yes now. But back then people would say, well, do you need anything? And I would say no. And then Tommy would get home and I would say, I just wish somebody would help me. And, cook a meal. Just don't ask. Just if you know that there are foster families in your church, just call them and say, you know what, I'm going to bring a meal to y'all tonight. Or a gift card to go out to eat.
Yeah.
Or
fold clothes.
That's really seriously a major one is there's so much laundry. And especially the week you get a foster child, you cannot do anything else for your family because there are a lot of caseworkers coming in your home the first week to 2 weeks after you get a new placement. always in and out, in and out. And then you have appointments to doctors. You have appointments that you have to go to the dentist. You have appointments to maybe for therapy. Then you have the visits to the parents. And then you have the emotional baggage of the kids crying themselves to sleep every night, missing their parents. Or, just the behavior, their behavior is different, or the parents blowing up your phone because they miss their kids, and so you have all these things going on, and you just need somebody to come keep your laundry going, or come and clean your bathroom. I mean, anything like that, I think the church should step up and help. And a lot of times it's just they're not educated. They educated on that topic. And I really wish that there was a way that, even a pastor could present it in the pulpit of how to help foster families or how to encourage them, or maybe an informational class or something on that. But I would say just knowing the families that are fostering and meeting a lot of physical needs at first would probably be the major ways that they could help.
That's good.
It's very practical, but just very earthy and real. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. So, and you guys are such a blessing to so many. And you do a duty that is sometimes I'm sure very thankless. And we'll be praying for you guys and praying that, even somebody randomly shows up to pick up some laundry for you guys.
Thank you.
Maybe they'll hear this.
They can do mine.
Well, God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Ben. It's nice to talk to you.
Yes, guys. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Theological Family Ministry Podcast. If you have enjoyed this episode, please give us a review on iTunes and share the podcast with your friends on social media. All new episodes are available to listen to on Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, Spreaker, and iTunes. We hope you have a great week, and join us again every first and third Thursday.